Alright, so here's the final product of meal one. It's pretty much the same every single day. 4 egg whites, 2 whole eggs, 1 cup or 80 grams of dry oats, sliced up apple, 2 stevia packets, cinnamon, and then 2 fish oils, vitamin D, magnesium, and multivitamin. There it is, meal one. The macros for this meal are 18 grams of fat, 81 grams of carbohydrate, 12 grams of fiber, and 39 grams of protein. That is including the fish oils. Alright, moving on to meal two. It's one of my staples. I'm going to have tuna, rice, and green beans. So this is what I'm looking at. The tuna, it's solid white albacore. Now there's a big difference between solid white albacore and the chunk light. Always go for the solid white albacore, just for the fact that it's easier to drain and it tastes a whole lot better. Macro wise, it's, you know, about the same, but the solid white albacore is a whole hell of a lot better. Now also, a pro tip. Get one of these tuna strainers. I don't even think they're like, I guess they are made for a tuna can, I would suppose, but get a tuna strainer, probably at Walmart or a dollar store or something like that. Some store like that. It makes a big difference. It makes, especially with the solid white albacore, it's very, very easy to drain. You turn the water on and just a couple squeezes, boom, it's drained. Rice, I'm doing 1 cup of dry rice, so it's not cooked. 1 serving is a half a cup uncooked. So this is 2 servings, 2 cups of rice when it's cooked. And I get that question a lot. Should you measure your rice cooked or uncooked? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you measure it beforehand like I do or measure it after you cook it. For, like, let's say if you were going to do meal prep for a week, obviously you would cook a huge amount. And then throughout the week, as you eat it, you would measure out your portion. Now obviously that would be cooked measurement. Dry measurement's about half that. So this is only, like I said, only 1 cup of dry rice. But cooked, it'll be about 2 cups. So it doesn't matter, like with meat, rice, anything. It doesn't matter whether you measure it cooked or uncooked. It's just, all that matters is if you track it correctly. So when you go on MyFitnessPal, make sure you're measuring, if you measured it, you know, uncooked, make sure you track it as uncooked and not cooked. Because I mean, it's a really big difference. So I get that question a lot, and it doesn't really matter how you track it as long as you track it correctly. So Ashlyn just brought up a good point. She said, so what about meat? So obviously, like, let's say you have an 8-ounce steak and you throw it on the grill. It's gonna shrink significantly. An 8-ounce steak raw will probably be, we'll say 5 ounces cooked. Now, what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter if you measure or you track it raw or cooked, because what I'm saying is, when you go into MyFitnessPal, you could either say I'm starting with an 8-ounce raw sirloin, or whatever it is, and track it as an 8-ounce raw sirloin, or you can look for, you know, as you measure it when it's uncooked, let's say it's 5.4 ounces uncooked, or cooked, I mean, 5.4, I'm getting really confused. So you measure it cooked, and let's say it's 5.4 ounces or something, then you track it as cooked into MyFitnessPal. Does that make sense? So, no. How does it not make sense?
Because, what if there would be less protein?
No, it's not, you're not getting what I'm saying. I hope the people watching this video understand what I'm saying. You can measure it either way. Just track it the way that you measured it. So in MyFitnessPal, if it's a cooked steak, make sure you measure, or in MyFitnessPal, it is a cooked steak.
Okay, but if it's raw, it's bigger. So like 8 times 7 is 56.
Yep.
If you measure, if you're going to buy it when it's cooked, it's going to be smaller. And then 5.4 times 7 is going to be not 56.
And the macro totals are going to reflect that.
What?
The macro totals are going to reflect that.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay.
Sriracha is a huge part of this meal. And then I also use a half a tablespoon of butter in the rice mixed with the tuna. Just the final point I'm going to mention is most of the time raw will be more accurate. Just because obviously, you know, nothing changes. It's 8 ounces of, raw steak is, 8 ounces of raw steak. And when you cook, things can change. How can you account for how much water is removed or how much fat is removed from the steak? You know what I mean? So, in my opinion, that's splitting hairs. As long as you track it as raw versus track it as cooked, and in MyFitnessPal reflects that, you'll be all right, in my opinion. All right, and here's the meal. Add a Coke Zero to it. This meal itself is 692 calories, and this combined with my breakfast puts me at 27 grams of fat, 184 grams of carbohydrate, and 84 grams of protein. Sometimes I'll add a tablespoon of peanut butter or maybe a handful of almonds with this meal just to add a little bit more fat, but a lot of times I don't. A lot of times I just go on with this. Another point I want to make about the way I eat is I eat cheap. I don't have to, but it's just the way I eat. And I get excuses a lot of times from people that say things like, "Oh, I can't eat healthy. I don't have the money to eat healthy. I don't have the money to hit my macros," or whatever. Just a bunch of excuses. And for some reason, people think that you can't eat well on a budget. And I will admit, yeah, healthy food tends to be more expensive. But look, eggs. I eat eggs every day. They're cheap. Just a big thing of oats is relatively cheap. Fruit is, just relatively cheap. Tuna, cheap. Rice, cheap. Frozen vegetables, cheap. Whey protein is pretty affordable. Just things like that. Peanut butter, pretty cheap. You can eat very good on limited funds if you have to. I don't know. Dinner is really the only meal that may be expensive for me. Last night would be a really bad example. We had steak and lobster, so obviously that's going to be a little bit more expensive than, I think tonight we might just have salmon and pasta or something. I don't know. I don't know what we have planned, but something like that is going to be relatively inexpensive. Alright, so meal 3 is the Cellucor Gainer Shake. 8 ounces of skim milk and 1 scoop of the Gainer. The Gainer is like 6 grams of fat, 40 carbs, and 30 grams of protein. And this is all I'll have right now. Then I'll have dinner, and then I'll have another one of these before bed, usually. Lately, I've been eating 5 meals a day. It's just the way things have been working out. For a while, I was doing 4. I think 4 and 5 tends to be optimal for most people. However, like I've said in the past, though, with meal frequency, it honestly doesn't matter if you eat 2 times a day or 8 times a day. Really, as long as you're hitting your macros. I feel like meal frequency should be more for convenience and what fits your schedule and what allows you to feel, look, and perform good. For me, 4 meals a day worked for the longest time, but recently, pretty much ever since my last meet, I've been kind of trying to be a little bit more aggressive with my calories, and I just can't get, 425, 450 grams of carbs a day in 4 meals. It's too much for me. I'm eating, because I don't like to have huge meals, and so, for convenience and just for practicality, 5 meals tends to be what I do when I'm eating higher calories. Now, however, if I do like a mini cut or something like that, I find lowering the meal frequency down to 4 tends to work better. Because four meals a day would fit my schedule the best. With 5, I always feel like I'm trying to sneak in an extra one. But with that being said, if I decide to skip that extra one, I don't feel like, you know, sneaking it in. It's normally like this, a shake right now, because I didn't really necessarily want it right now. I'm like, I can definitely wait till dinner, which, you know, we normally eat later dinners, normally 7 or 8 at night. So I was like, yeah, I could definitely be fine. It's like 4 right now. But I'm like, shit, if I don't have this shake, then most likely I'm gonna be under on carbs. So, you know, might as well just get this in and then not eat as much protein later in the day. So then my protein's not, you know, any higher. So that's the reasoning behind the 5 meals. Alright, so this is the meal that's the most variable for me. Really, I mean, I could have anything for dinner. We have, you know, a wide range of different food items. Like last night we had, like I said earlier, we had steak and lobster. So, I mean, a lot of times it's a meat. So it's either chicken, steak, fish, like tonight, salmon. And then the carb source could be anything from, you know, this is mac and cheese, but this is rice mac and cheese, rice noodles.
Gluten-free, yeah.
Yeah. To regular Kraft mac and cheese, or potatoes, or rice, or pasta, or I don't know what else we have.
I don't know. We do a lot of rice.
Yeah, and then you know, some type of vegetable, whether it's a salad, broccoli, green beans, whatever. Keep it simple. A little bit of light balsamic vinaigrette. I have to put all this into my fitness pal. My phone's charging right now, so I don't even know what my numbers are for the day, but I have one more shake and then we'll have some froyo. And the post-meal treat. My favorite, this is Ben & Jerry's half-baked froyo. My favorite treat, I guess you could say. Me and Ash normally just split this pint. There's 4 servings, so we each get 2 servings. 1 serving is 3 grams of fat, 35 carbs, and 5 grams of protein, so very macro friendly if you have a lot of carbs like I do. So this is the perfect dessert for me. I love it. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it.